But it's interesting. We have this knowledge, and Yaqub's whole lesson was the idea of separation, which is clearly rooted in us first. And you would think that as 5%ers, though, that would be a thing that people wouldn't even dare to try to bring in. But it's even in the history of this nation where people with the knowledge have that issue. Listen, brothers that I came up with this knowledge, like learning in the classroom together and other stuff, they would say, at times, like, I had a real moment. I won't even say who they were. We're out there. I'll tell you people that didn't say this, that were there. Like, it was C. Akil, others. Like, we would have ciphers out here. Like, because we're always here figuring out what to do that the elders would be okay with, that we could do, right? This is what we were doing all the time. And we're talking about the seeds and stuff like that. And one of the gods, he's a knowledge seed. And this is around 2002, 3, whatever. And he goes, God, and he looks at me, he's like, God, like, there's levels, though. Like, God, like, you're God, though, but, you're not, like, really the God, like, the original man. You're original man, but you're not really the God. Like, it's always with the first, the black seed, And I knew him, like, we were rolling together, like, everything, and I didn't have no build. I didn't want no build. I just told him to go fuck himself. I was like, all this building that I do here, all this building. I'm not talking about building like we doing things and doing things for the community, helping the school, all that. I'm talking about all the builds I gave about melanin, about the diversity of that, about the black, brown, yellow, all of this science I brought, and you come and say that's stupid shit. And then other people, I would be in ciphers with people that were older. They would say stuff and say that the brown and yellow was made during the grafting process. And I said, so just to justify your little hierarchy system that you're trying to make, though, and turn this into little Bombay over here and have us doing a caste system here in the nation, you're acting, so now the cremator is very ineffective. Very ineffective cremator. Like he was dumping black babies and then the brown babies. It's so crowded. I can't fit the black babies. It's so crowded in this furnace of burning and whatever it was that he was cremating the black babies, right? Yellow babies. I don't feel like killing yellow babies. We're made during the grafting process. So some type of deliberate thing had to happen for us to be made. And many, many people that have published books. Right? I'm not even going to say it on the camera. Have argued with me with this. No. Those yellow and stuff, they was made during the grafting process. Oh no, those brown, those are made because of the grafting process and shit. And I'm like, wow, you didn't take this lesson very well. You didn't really look at this lesson. First off, there's like an assumption that before the Yaqub made the devil, that this world was not very populated. Like original people wasn't doing their thing. And that the reason that we have original people of different phenotypes is because people were living in different places for generations upon generations and developing various phenotypes. And then that the reality of those phenotypes, those people in different places for so many generations, then reconvening is where the clashes start coming. And that's where, if you put it together, the Egyptian mystery school system was supposed to be a system where Kemet was bringing back the original people from different places. See, the scholarship of the Egyptian, this is what I contend, and I've always said this as a challenge to the students, that there's more to write about. In our day of the black books and learning and everything, right? The black books were about African origin civilization, destruction of black civilization, the canon of Suriname books, right? They were based on showing you, George G.M. James, Stone Legacy, was showing you that we were the originators of civilization. And that whites got everything from us, right? And that was a success. But then all of the middle of like how all the other original people became what they are is not researched at all. And when you look at it, the assumption is that the Egyptian mystery school system, right, the system of Kemet, was designed to teach white folk. And we assume that as gods because that's a major premise in the wisdom degree in the 1 to 14. Even through to the 4th degree in the 1 to 14. That we had to make systems to teach white folk how to do shit. And in my research, I don't bear witness that that was the reason that that was created.
As far as Kemet.
Yeah. I feel that the number one duty of it wasn't to teach Greece how to be civilized, because that could have been done by a simple conquering. By a simple conquering, like the Moors did. Go in there and then take it over and civilize it, right? The white man didn't make up colonization, right? What's his name? He was a student of Diab. Charles Finch notes and describes Egypt as a colony of Nubia. So there are redefinitions of colonies where it's not just abuse like Puerto Rico, you know what I'm saying? US, right? So the way that I see it is that the Egyptian mystery school system was to unite all of the original peoples and the differences of what they learned and what they gained together. And that it wasn't a complete success. That it didn't fully realize itself, you know what I mean? And of course you see that major clashes. You know, we know the 16,000 years ago the Indians came to America. But there were other migrations earlier than that as well. You know, and that's what FBA, when they on their dumb shit, when they say like, we're original Native Americans and stuff, you know, and they have no history, you know. Like, I was telling God that when FBA says that they're all Indian stuff because their grandmama told them, that's a lot like Latinos and Puerto Ricans, you know what I'm saying?
Foundational black.
You try to whiten yourself out. So like, we all know that we have indigenous roots and stuff. That's pretty easy to find. Like in my family, it's very easy to find. But you don't want to say the black stuff. You don't want to admit the black, the directly African. Right. You'll admit it later. My parents admitted it later, like near their end years to me. So I had to announce myself a long time for them. But they always admit, like, they always want to show you the picture of someone that was French in the family. Like, oh, you was from France, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like, they were from Corsica. They were from Corsica. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right, you know, and I was like, you know, like, a lot of Spain you're talking about is really Moorish, though. Thus Castilian soap, you know what I mean? Right, because it was the Moors that made soap, and that's where the Castilian soap comes from, you know? Soap's made from olive oil and vegetables. Yeah, plant-based soap comes from the Moors. Yeah, that's why it's Castilian soap, you know? But it was a way to make our, you know, make stuff more European and stuff. Black Americans do that here too. They might have some mixture. They misquote books like Jack Forbes' work, who's a Native American writer, who wrote a book called Native Americans and African Americans. Like, and he wrote a book about that, about how the census data and how the realities of blacks and Native Americans was so mixed and deliberately confused too, to get around slavery or to get out of slavery. So these classifications were all mixed. Absolutely. To get more slaves or to get out of it, you know. So they got mixed, you
and
know.
Also for the Caucasians to take over the native land.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely, yeah. Some of the Caucasians would say, yeah, we have like
8%.
We have,
Native American from where, like.
Yeah. That's right. You know what's funny? I just found like a jazz singer that she was more in pop, but she was like a jazz singer in the 40s, 50s, or something like that. Her biggest hit was Wheel of Fortune. She actually made a song, Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, wow.
And about the game, like it's about the game. I think her name was Kay Starr. She was Irish and Iroquois. So,
wow.
She had a good voice, though. She had a good voice. You know? But anyway, I had to give a crate, you know, while we're doing this. But,
yeah. They always do that, though. They were like, I'm 1/8 Native American. It was like, stop.
Yeah, I don't know what she was doing then. I'm not trying to diss Kay Starr, but, you know.
J.A. Rogers kind of goes into that, right?
Yeah. I always hated J.A. Rogers from Superman to Man because he tried to make it like, yeah, that's why the black man is so powerful. Look at the Native Americans. They were so weak, they couldn't do the slavery. And I was like, that's not technically true.
No.
What really was happening was that they refused to do slavery. They, you know, like they were, yeah, they were. They killed them. They fought back. You can't enslave people that are on their home. You have to take their home by taking them out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was the same thing said. Like, if you notice, Britain didn't really enslave Africans in Africa. You know what I mean? They took them out. They couldn't enslave them there either. You know what I mean? They colonized their lands though, and they set up colonies, but they couldn't do what they did in America. They had to do it different. That's where the colonies come from. You know, that whole concept. You know? But yeah, it's a whole bunch of shit though. You know? But it's only, if you know, I don't get that shit. I used to get that Puerto Rican stuff sometimes in the classroom. So I've had people
recently, though.
I've had people walk out because I was too light skinned.
I mean, I had people that come in the name of God. Even last year, I would say even 6 months ago, was saying how like the Tainos were wiped out. You know, that whole narrative.
Right.
And mind you, this brother, I don't want to remember who he is. He's part of the Arawak tribes, right? And so I'm like, so why are you saying it? But because he's a black seed, right? And I look how I look. I said, so you're saying you don't exist, God? Why are you sitting here talking to me right now? It's not making sense, God. Like, if we were wiped out, then you wouldn't be here. Like, what are you talking about? So it's just weird how it still comes up. And you've been here, obviously.
People will contradict themselves to make a point against you, your validity, you know?
But he feels like he denounces that, or I want to say denounces that. He doesn't always reveal that. I guess he selectively shares that he's part of our Arawak tribe. So it becomes like he doesn't like speak on it so much. It's very rare that I've ever heard him say that.
That's
10
interesting.
Years.
Yeah. That's
so he was bringing it up only because I was talking about it. And he's like, well, you know I'm from, blah, 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 you know what I mean? And so like, oh, now you want to revere that, right? But you're bringing it up because me being fair-skinned and you're, you know what I'm saying? Because he's a non-Nazi. So I thought that was interesting. Because it applied to me because of my complexion compared to his phenotype. And it didn't make sense. And his point didn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
To say that we was extinct and then you're sitting right here with me.
Yeah.
Or even the so-called trinity of being, the Africano, Spaniard, Italian, like, it's always this holy trinity, and it's like, we're not.
I've always hated the holy trinity.
I hate it.
That gets taught to Puerto Ricans because the Spaniard definition isn't really what is already a half original man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the Latino has a half original conqueror, especially in the Caribbean. That Spaniard Spaniard is a mixed person who's actively denouncing his roots. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they're actively not bathing. They're actively not using soap. They're actively, as a countermeasure. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
Because they came here with like perfumes and all that kind of stuff, but they would douse it on top of themselves as opposed to cleaning
themselves. They never refined. They just threw it on to mask it.
So it's like if you had some oils out in 125th and the bums are on the street, you just pour it on them. Like, here's some musk, and just pour musk on them, poor brother. You know what I mean? It'd be disgusting.
You must do your own research, as I did.
If Mega did this.